What if the job you prayed for led you straight into the arms of the one man who could change your whole life? The gunshot echoed across the Wyoming valley as Olivia Cain threw herself behind a fallen log. Her hands shook as she clutched her father's pocket watch, the last thing she owned of any real value. Only 3 days alone on the trail, and already she had met more danger than in all her 22 years in Boston. Another gunshot cracked the air. Olivia pressed her back against the cold bark and tried to steady her breathing. She had only a small pistol, barely practiced with it, and 3 bullets. The bandits hunting her had far more. "I know you're out there, miss," a rough voice called. "We just want to help a lady in distress." The laughter that followed turned her stomach. She knew exactly what sort of help they meant. Footsteps crunched through the brush. Olivia swallowed hard and raised her pistol with trembling fingers. 3 men against her alone. There was no chance she could win a fight. Her best hope was that they would believe she ran the other way. Then, suddenly, hoofbeats thundered across the valley. "Not the bandits! Someone else!" The footsteps near her stopped. "Someone's coming!" one bandit hissed. A moment later, a shotgun roared. The blast echoed so close that Olivia flinched. The bandits cursed and scattered. 2 more shots rang out before everything fell silent. "You can come out now, ma'am," a steady voice called. "They're gone." Olivia remained hidden, her heart pounding. This could easily be another trick. "I understand your caution," the voice continued. "But I give you my word, I mean no harm. My name is Yates Sloan. I've got a ranch about 5 miles east." Something in his tone made her rise slowly and peek over the log. A tall cowboy sat on a dappled gray stallion, shotgun resting across his thigh. His face was shadowed beneath a wide hat, but she could tell he was younger than she expected, maybe 30, with a strong jaw and a few days of stubble. His blue eyes were alert, but not unkind. "Are they gone?" Olivia asked in a shaky voice. "Yes, ma'am. But there are more men like them in these woods," Yates said. "This isn't a place to be traveling alone." She stood up, brushing dirt from her once fine dress. "I was heading to Sweetwater. The stagecoach was robbed yesterday. The driver was killed. I've been walking since." Yates's expression tightened. "The Finley gang again. They're getting bold." He looked toward the setting sun. "Sweetwater is still 15 miles away. You won't make it before dark. And it's dangerous at night." "I have no choice," Olivia said, lifting her chin. "I was hired to cook at the Elkhorn Ranch. I must reach Sweetwater." Yates paused. Something unreadable flickered in his eyes. "The Elkhorn," he repeated. "Yes. Mr. Howard Jenkins offered me a position." Yates dismounted, his boots crunching softly on the earth. "Jenkins is my foreman. He has no authority to hire staff without asking me." Olivia felt the world tilt beneath her feet. "So there is no job?" "I'm afraid not," he said gently. Tears stung her eyes, but she forced them back. She had sold everything to come west. Her father's debts had taken their home after his death. The job at the Elkhorn had been her only chance at starting over. "I see," she whispered, voice tight. "Then I apologize for the trouble." Yates studied her for a long moment, her tired face, her worn dress, the fear she was trying to hide. "How did you come to write to Jenkins?" he asked. She explained quickly, feeling foolish with every word. Yates sighed and rubbed a hand over his jaw. "Jenkins has a soft heart," he said. "Too soft at times." Olivia swallowed. "He said you needed help." "With 15 ranch hands and a growing operation." "That much is true," Yates admitted. He put his hat back on. "But what Jenkins failed to understand is that I need a wife more than I need a cook." Olivia stared at him. "I beg your pardon?" He lifted a hand, almost amused. "Not a proposal, Miss Cain, just a fact. A ranch this size needs someone to run the household, not just cook. Manage supplies, keep accounts, handle letters, that sort of thing." "Oh," Olivia said, not sure how to respond. "But," Yates continued, "you can come with me to the Elkhorn tonight. It's safer than wandering these woods alone. Tomorrow we'll sort out the misunderstanding." Olivia hesitated. trusting a stranger, again, was dangerous, yet he had saved her, and he kept a respectful distance. And truthfully, she had nowhere else to go. "I would be grateful," she said. Yates helped her mount his horse. His hand was strong and warm, but his touch remained polite. He swung up behind her, careful not to crowd her, as they rode toward the fading light. Every time the horse's stride brought her close to him, her breath caught slightly, not in fear, but something else she did not want to name. Boston felt a lifetime away now, and whatever future she had imagined was quickly slipping into something unknown and wild. As the Elkhorn Ranch came into view, its windows glowing warmly in the dusk, Olivia had no idea that the cowboy behind her, the one who claimed he needed a wife more than a cook, was about to change the course of her life forever. Olivia stepped into the warm kitchen of the Elkhorn Ranch, the smell of beef stew wrapping around her like a blanket. After days on the trail, the simple scent made her eyes sting with sudden relief. Mrs. Larson, the gray-haired cook, fussed over her like a mother hen, settling her at the table and ladling stew into a bowl before Olivia could protest. "You're half-starved, child," Mrs. Larson said. "Eat before you fall over." Olivia ate quickly, unable to hide her hunger. Yates stood near the doorway, watching her with a thoughtful expression. Even in the low light, he looked powerful and steady, the kind of man who could face danger without flinching. But Olivia wasn't sure what to make of him yet. Moments later, the front door opened and Howard Jenkins walked in. His face went pale when he saw Olivia. "Miss Cain," he said, voice cracking. "You made it here safely." "No thanks to your letter," Yates said sharply as he stepped forward. "Offering a job that doesn't exist." Jenkins winced and looked down at his boots. "I can explain, boss." Quote, "I'm counting on it," Yates said, his tone firm, "in my study." Olivia watched them disappear down the hall, her stomach twisted. Her future was being decided behind a closed door, and she wasn't sure she had the strength left for another disappointment. Mrs. Larson rested a hand on Olivia's shoulder. "Don't fret, dear. Yates is fair. If anyone can sort this out, it's him." But Olivia couldn't stop the fear creeping through her. She had crossed the country for this job. She had lost everything in Boston. If she lost this too, she had nothing. When she finally went upstairs to the spare room, exhaustion dragged her into sleep before she had time to worry any further. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the window. Olivia dressed quickly and went downstairs, nervous about what she might find. Yates was at the stove, frying eggs with rolled-up sleeves and tousled hair. "Good morning, Miss Cain," he said. "I trust you slept well." "Very well," she said. "May I help with breakfast?" He smiled a little. "If you want it to be edible, yes." Quote, she stepped beside him, taking the spatula, their fingers brushed. A small spark shot through her arm, so sudden she almost dropped it. She focused on the eggs, pretending nothing had happened. "I owe you an apology," Yates said quietly. "You traveled all this way based on a promise made in good faith." "Jenkins overstepped, but you deserve honesty." "I understand," Olivia replied. "But what will happen now?" "That depends," he said. "Jenkins told me you learned bookkeeping from your father's business." She nodded. "Then I have a proposition," Yates said calmly. "Work for me not just as a cook, but as household manager. Take care of accounts, supplies, letters. I'll pay you fair wages, provide room, board, and protection." Olivia blinked. "Protection?" "The West is dangerous," he said simply. "A woman alone is a target. If you work under my roof, no one will bother you. My name carries weight." She hesitated. The offer was generous. More than she had hoped for, but it also meant remaining close to him, a man who already unsettled her in ways she didn't understand. "What does Mrs. Larson think of this arrangement?" Olivia asked. "It was her idea," Yates admitted. "She's ready to cut back her workload." After a quiet moment, Olivia gave a small nod. "Very well, I accept the offer. On a trial basis." Yates extended his hand, and they shook. His grip was firm and warm, and Olivia felt that same spark again. Something inside her shifted. The first week passed quickly as she learned the rhythm of ranch life. Olivia cleaned up the account books, cooked with Mrs. Larson, and grew familiar with the daily tasks. She was surprised to find she liked the work. The ranch buzzed with life and purpose. It felt real in a way Boston never had. But one afternoon, while checking the ledger, she realized the books were a mess, loose receipts, crossed-out numbers, and missing totals. "This is impossible," she muttered. "Is it that bad?" Yates asked from the doorway. She looked up, startled. "Worse. You have no system at all." He laughed softly. "Fair enough. With your permission," Olivia said, "I'd like to start fresh. Clear books, proper records, separate ledgers." Yates studied her with that intense gaze of his. "Do whatever you think is right." His trust warmed her more than she expected, but not all was peaceful. Sweetwater had its share of gossip, and Olivia felt it as soon as she entered town with Yates for supplies. Curious eyes followed her. Whispers trailed behind her. One woman even pulled her aside. "Are you the Boston girl staying at the Elkhorn?" she asked sharply. "Folk are wondering why a bachelor cowboy needs a young woman under his roof." Olivia felt her cheeks burn, but she kept her voice steady. "I'm the household manager." Nothing more. When she returned to the wagon, Yates noticed her troubled expression. "Did someone say something?" he asked. "It doesn't matter," she said. "It matters if it hurt you," he said, voice firm. She shook her head. "I expected gossip. Boston wasn't much different." He guided the horses slowly down the street. "If it becomes too much, you can take a job in Sweetwater." The suggestion stabbed her unexpectedly. "Are you unhappy with my work?" she asked. "No," Yates said quickly. "You've improved my ranch more in 2 weeks than I have in years, but I won't have you suffering because you work for me." "It's my choice to stay," she said. A shadow softened in his eyes. "Then we'll face the gossip together." Her heart thumped at those words, a sign she didn't fully understand. Days later, everything changed again when a young man delivering supplies tried to ask Olivia to the harvest dance. Before she could respond, Yates appeared behind her. "Miss Cain will be attending with me," he said firmly. The young man gave Yates a mocking smirk. "Is that what folks are calling it these days?" Yates stepped closer, jaw tight. "Finish your delivery and leave." After the wagon rolled away, Olivia turned on him. "I can speak for myself." "I know," he said. "But he doesn't take no for an answer, and I won't have him pestering you." "And what about you?" she asked softly. "Why do you care?" Quote. He held her gaze, his voice low, steady. "That depends on what you want, Olivia." Quote. Her name on his lips sent her heart tumbling. She swallowed. "I don't know." "Then maybe we should find out," Yates said, starting with the dance, "if you're willing." Something in the way he said it made her breath catch. "I am," she whispered. A slow smile spread across his face. "Good." But before she could ask what exactly was good, Jenkins ran toward them, out of breath. "Boss," he panted, "the Finley gang hit the Sullivan place last night. Sheriff's forming a posse." Yates's expression hardened. "I'm coming." He mounted his horse but turned to Olivia, his voice urgent. "Stay at the ranch. Lock the doors. Don't go anywhere alone. Finley's boys are unpredictable." She nodded, heart pounding. "Be careful," she said. Their eyes held for a long moment, too long. Then Yates reached out and briefly took her hand. "I'll return," he promised. And then he was gone, riding hard toward danger, leaving Olivia standing in the dust with a fear she had never felt before. A fear that told her something had already begun growing between them, something she was no longer sure she could ignore. The ranch felt too big, too quiet, without Yates. Olivia tried to focus on her chores, but every sound made her jump. Even Mrs. Larson kept glancing toward the road, worry tightening her face. "The Finley boys are mean as rattlesnakes," she muttered as they cooked supper. "But Yates Sloan is smart. He knows how to keep himself alive." Olivia nodded, but her stomach twisted. She barely knew this cowboy, yet the thought of something happening to him felt like a blow to the chest. Night fell. Then another. Olivia barely slept, sitting by her window watching for any sign of riders. On the second evening, long after sunset, hoofbeats finally echoed in the yard. Olivia ran outside before she even realized her feet were moving. Yates slid off his weary stallion, dust-covered and exhausted. Relief rushed through her so fast her knees nearly buckled. "You're back," she breathed. "As promised," he said with a tired smile. But when he stepped into the lantern light, she gasped. A dark stain spread across his sleeve. "You're hurt," quote. "Just a graze," he said. "Nothing serious." "It needs cleaning," she insisted. "Sit down." Yates opened his mouth to argue, but closed it when he saw the fear in her eyes. He followed her inside like a scolded boy while Mrs. Larson fetched bandages. Olivia cleaned the wound gently. Her fingers brushed his skin, and a shiver ran through her. Yates watched her with an unreadable expression. "You don't approve of the violence," he said. "I don't understand it," Olivia replied. "Back east, things like this don't happen." "The West is a harder place," he said softly. "But it's honest in a way cities aren't." She tied the bandage carefully. When she finished, Yates caught her hand for a moment. "Thank you," he said, voice low, "for worrying." Her breath caught. They were too close, too quiet, too aware of each other. Olivia stepped back before she did something foolish, but the space between them had already changed. Days passed. Yates recovered quickly, though Olivia wasn't sure her own heart did. He spoke to her more, sought her out more. Every evening, they shared small conversations on the porch, about the ranch, their pasts, their hopes. Each night, those talks grew deeper. Then came the harvest dance. Olivia had never seen Sweetwater so alive. Lanterns glowed along the wooden sidewalks. Fiddles played lively tunes. Children laughed as ranchers gathered with their families. But when Yates saw Olivia in her altered emerald dress, he stopped walking, just stopped, and stared. "You look." He cleared his throat, voice suddenly rough. "Beautiful." Her cheeks warmed. "Thank you." Everyone watched as he led her inside. Whispers followed them, but for once Olivia didn't care. Not when Yates placed his hand at the small of her back. Not when he asked her for the first dance. The waltz began. Yates pulled her gently into his arms. Olivia's breath trembled as he guided her across the floor, steady and sure. "This feels," she whispered. "Right?" He finished. She looked up at him, the lantern light catching the blue in his eyes. "Yes, right." When the dance ended, they didn't move apart right away. Not until someone cleared their throat nearby. Yates chuckled under his breath. "Let them talk," he murmured. "I don't care." Neither did Olivia. By the end of the night, something between them had shifted. Fully, undeniably. The next morning, life returned to its routines. Ranch work filled their days, but every time Yates passed Olivia in the house, every time their hands brushed, every time he said her name, something warm and dangerous sparked between them. Yates began lingering near her when she worked. He brought her wildflowers. He asked her about her dreams, her fears, her plans. He listened in a way no one else ever had. One clear autumn morning, he invited her on a ride to the north pasture. The hills rolled out around them in golden green. Olivia felt more alive than she had in years as she rode beside him. They stopped at a ridge overlooking the valley. The land stretched wide under the blue sky. Yates dismounted and helped her down. "Olivia," he said quietly, "I need to tell you something." Her heart thudded. "These past weeks, you've become important to me. More important than I expected." He paused, searching her face. "This started as a practical arrangement, but now I don't want practicality." The wind tugged at her hair as she stood there, frozen. "I want you," Yates said, "not as an employee, not as a temporary guest. I want a future with you." Olivia's breath caught. "Yates." He took her hands gently in his. "I'm asking to court you, properly, with honorable intentions, if you'll allow it." Everything inside her trembled, but not with fear, with hope. "I would like that," she whispered. Yates's relieved smile lit up his whole face. He leaned in slowly, giving her every chance to pull away. She didn't. Their kiss was soft at first, then warmer, deeper. A promise neither needed words to explain. From that moment on, the Elkhorn was no longer just a place Olivia worked. It was the place she belonged. Weeks passed. Autumn faded toward winter. Their courtship grew stronger, steadier, richer each day. Then, one crisp morning on the ridge where he first kissed her, Yates dropped to one knee. "Olivia Cain," he said, voice steady though his hands trembled, "I need a wife more than a cook, but with you I want both. Will you marry me?" Tears filled her eyes. "Yes," she whispered, "1,000 times yes." They married before the first snowfall, surrounded by the ranch hands and Mrs. Larson wiping happy tears. Yates kissed her with the certainty of a man who had waited his whole life for this moment. Winter settled over Wyoming, turning the ranch white and quiet. Inside the warm house, Olivia learned the joys of being Yates Sloane's wife, his partner, his love, his home. Months later, on a spring morning, she placed his hand gently over her stomach. "Yates," she said softly, "we're going to have a baby." He froze. Then joy broke across his face as he lifted her in his arms. "Our baby," he whispered, voice thick with emotion. "Our family." As they stood together on the ridge, the whole valley spread out before them, Olivia realized something simple and beautiful. She had come west looking for a kitchen job, but she found a husband, a home, and a love wilder and deeper than any she had ever imagined.